Planning your day before it begins is one of the most foundational habits of highly effective people. It may sound simple, even obvious, but the truth is, most people drift through their days rather than direct them. They react instead of act. They respond to problems rather than initiate progress. This difference in approach makes all the difference in the long run. Imagine waking up each morning with no plan, no direction, and no clarity about what you want to accomplish. It's like getting in a car and driving without a destination. You might end up somewhere, but chances are it won't be where you want to go. Highly effective people understand that time is a non-renewable resource. They know that the day doesn't begin when the sun rises, it begins the night before. They sit down with a planner, a notepad, or even just a quiet mind and think through the upcoming day. They ask themselves, what are the most important things I need to accomplish tomorrow? What will move the needle? What should I focus on and what should I ignore? This level of forethought creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum. When you plan your day in advance, you reduce decision fatigue. Every decision you make throughout the day takes mental energy. When you fail to plan, you force yourself to make countless small decisions as the day progresses. What to do next, where to go, what's urgent, what's important. These micro decisions drain you, they steal your attention. But when you've already mapped out your day, you can move from task to task with confidence and energy because the decision has already been made. This habit also helps you avoid distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Your phone is buzzing. Your inbox is filling up. Social media notifications are competing for your attention. But when you've taken time to plan your day, you're less likely to be pulled in 1,000 directions. Why? Because your mind is anchored. You know what matters. You know what to say yes to. And just as importantly, you know what to say no to. Planning gives structure to your time, but it also gives purpose to your actions. It forces you to evaluate your priorities. Too many people confuse being busy with being effective. They fill their calendars with meetings, errands, chores, and tasks that make them feel productive, but they never stop to ask, is this helping me become the person I want to be? Planning your day helps you align your activities with your values. It brings your daily actions into harmony with your long-term vision. Effective people don't just write down a to-do list. They schedule their priorities. There's a difference. A to-do list is a wish list. It's a collection of things you hope to get done. A calendar, on the other hand, is a commitment. It's an appointment with yourself. It tells you when and where you will take action. That kind of precision builds discipline. It builds trust in yourself. When you start honoring the appointments you make with yourself, you build confidence. And that confidence compounds over time. Planning also reveals patterns. Over time, you'll start to notice what kinds of tasks you avoid, what time of day you're most productive, and where you waste time. This awareness allows you to optimize. You might discover that your creative energy is highest in the morning, so you start doing your most demanding work first. Or you might realize that you lose an hour every day scrolling through your phone, so you put limits on screen time and reclaim that lost time. Without planning, these insights stay hidden. With planning, they become obvious. Another benefit of planning your day in advance is that it brings peace of mind. There's something deeply calming about knowing your day has direction. Instead of waking up in chaos, you wake up with clarity. Instead of scrambling through the morning, you move with focus. That sense of order creates a psychological advantage. You feel in control. You feel capable. You feel prepared. Planning doesn't mean rigidity. It doesn't mean every minute is locked down and there's no room for flexibility. In fact, effective people often plan for unplanned moments. They leave buffers in their schedule. They know that life is unpredictable. Traffic, interruptions, emergencies, delays. But because they've planned for the essential tasks, those interruptions don't derail the entire day. The big things still get done. The priorities are still protected. When you don't plan your day, you become a victim of other people's agendas. You answer emails that don't matter. You attend meetings that waste your time. You respond to everyone else's requests while your own goals sit untouched. But when you plan your day, you put your goals first. You build your life around what matters to you, not what matters to everyone else. That shift, from reactive to proactive, is where personal power begins. Planning is also an act of intention. It's a declaration that your life matters enough to be designed, that your time is worth managing, that your goals deserve your attention. It's easy to drift through life waiting for motivation, for opportunity, for the right moment, but effective people don't wait. They don't hope for time. They make time. They shape their days before the world has a chance to shape them. People often ask, what's the secret to staying focused? The answer is simple: know what to focus on. And the way you do that is by planning. Clarity eliminates confusion. It drowns out the noise. It lets you ignore the unimportant and zero in on what really moves the needle. It lets you say, this is what matters today, and then get to work. Think of your day like a block of marble. Planning is the chisel. Without it, you're left with a shapeless chunk of time. But when you plan, you chip away at that block with purpose. You carve out progress. You create something meaningful. You shape the life you want, one deliberate day at a time. Planning your day doesn't guarantee perfection. Life is messy, things change, interruptions happen, but the plan is not about perfection. It's about direction. Even a flawed plan is better than no plan at all, because a plan gives you a starting point. It gives you momentum. It puts you in motion, and momentum, once created, is a powerful force. Valuing time more than money is a mindset that transforms everything. The truly effective understand this at a level most people overlook. While the average person spends their energy chasing dollars, the effective person guards their hours. Why? Because money can be earned, lost, and earned again. But once a moment passes, it's gone forever. You can deposit money into a bank account and watch it grow, but time doesn't wait. It doesn't pause. It doesn't care if you're ready or not. It moves every second, every minute, with or without your permission. Highly effective people treat time as their most precious currency. They measure it. They protect it. They don't waste it on things that don't matter. They don't hand it out to everyone who asks. They're not afraid to say no. They understand that every yes to one thing is a no to something else. That's the law of trade-offs. Every hour you spend on low-value activity is an hour you're not investing in your growth, your goals, your health, your relationships, your future. The effective don't just ask, what am I doing? They ask, is this the best use of my time right now? The difference in how people value time is easy to spot. Watch how they show up. The effective are on time. They're prepared. They respect other people's time as much as they respect their own. They don't waste meetings. They don't drag conversations. They get to the point. They don't let distractions rule their schedule. They understand that being late, procrastinating, being too busy all the time, those are signs of disorganization, not signs of importance. Valuing time is about living intentionally. It's about waking up and realizing the day is a gift, not a guarantee. Every morning you're alive is an opportunity to build, to create, to learn, to love, to improve. Effective people don't take that lightly. They don't leave their days to chance. They don't let time slip through their fingers like sand. They're builders, not drifters. They make time serve them. They don't serve time. When you start valuing time over money, you begin to make different choices. You stop tolerating time wasters. You stop engaging in endless arguments, gossip, and mindless scrolling. You stop spending hours chasing the cheap thrill of entertainment and start investing hours building the life you want. You stop saying, I'll do it tomorrow, because you realize tomorrow isn't promised. You act with urgency, not panic, but purpose-driven urgency. The effective often seem like they have more time than others, but they don't. They just use time differently. They batch tasks. They eliminate the unnecessary. They automate what they can, they delegate what they should, they focus on what moves the needle, they spend time creating assets, not just consuming distractions. While others are watching another episode, they're reading. While others are refreshing their feed, they're planning. While others are reacting, they're executing. It's not that they're faster, it's that they're more focused. This mindset also impacts how they spend their money. They're not afraid to pay for convenience, education, or leverage, if it buys back time. They'll spend money on a mentor, on a coach, on better tools, on systems that streamline their life. Why? Because they understand that time saved is opportunity gained. They'd rather invest in something that speeds up their growth than save a few dollars and lose a few months. When you really value time, you begin to feel uncomfortable wasting it. You become sensitive to dead hours, moments where you're doing nothing of value, nothing of growth, nothing aligned with your purpose. It doesn't mean you become a machine. It doesn't mean every second must be productive. It means even your rest becomes intentional. You recharge with purpose so you can return stronger. You don't numb out. You reset. People who value time also think long term. They understand that small time investments made consistently lead to massive returns. 15 minutes a day reading, 5 days a week, turns into hundreds of books over a lifetime. 1 hour a day practicing your craft turns into mastery. 30 minutes of quality time with a loved one every day builds a bond few people ever experience. They don't underestimate the compound effect of time well spent. This mindset also changes how you handle decisions. You become quicker to choose and slower to drift. You don't linger in indecision. You evaluate, decide, and move. Because you know that overthinking is just another form of procrastination. It's a thief dressed up in logic. The highly effective are decisive not because they never make mistakes, but because they'd rather make a mistake moving forward than stay stuck standing still. Valuing time over money also helps you avoid burnout. It helps you focus on what truly matters. Because when you realize how limited your time really is, you start aligning your life around your values. You stop giving your best hours to things that mean nothing to you. You start cutting things out, not out of coldness, but out of clarity. You stop proving yourself to everyone because your time is too valuable to spend on endless approval seeking. This mindset helps you recognize urgency when it's needed and patience when it's wise. Some things take time to grow: relationships, character, skill, reputation. But just because something takes time doesn't mean you can afford to waste time. The effective honor the process while respecting the clock. They build slowly, but they move consistently. They know the most dangerous lie is someday. When you value time, you also begin to value the present moment more deeply. You stop living in the past or worrying about the future. You start being where you are. You give people your full attention. You engage fully in conversations. You listen better. You're not just present physically, you're present mentally. That presence makes you powerful. It makes you magnetic. It makes you rare. The habit of valuing time above money is not about hustle for hustle's sake. It's not about working more, it's about working wisely. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. It's not about cramming your calendar. It's about prioritizing your purpose. The effective aren't addicted to being busy. They are addicted to being aligned. When their time aligns with their vision, they move with confidence. They move with clarity. They move with peace. Taking 100% responsibility is a defining trait of highly effective people. It's the line in the sand that separates those who lead their lives from those who live by default. It's not just a principle, it's a way of thinking, of behaving, of showing up in the world. When someone truly adopts this mindset, everything changes. Life no longer feels like it's happening ** to * them. it starts happening asterisk through asterisk them. They stop being victims of circumstance and start being creators of outcomes. Responsibility means owning everything in your life. Your actions, your results, your habits, your decisions, your mindset, and even your reaction. The effective don't blame the weather, the economy, the government, their boss, their childhood, or their spouse. They know those things may influence life, but they don't control it. What controls it is response. That's why the word responsibility is really two words, response plus ability. It's the ability to choose your response, and that power is always in your hands, no matter the situation. Most people hand away their power by shifting blame. It's easier to say, "It's not my fault." It feels safer to point the finger outward, but the moment you do that, you also say, "I'm powerless to change this." The highly effective refuse to give up that power. They say, "Even if it wasn't my fault, it's still my responsibility." That shift creates movement. It opens the door to change, because when you accept responsibility, you're not waiting for someone else to fix it. You're taking action yourself. This mindset creates maturity, it builds character, it demands that you stop living in excuses. Excuses are comfortable because they protect the ego, but they kill progress. The effective person doesn't excuse their laziness, their procrastination, their lack of results. They look at it honestly and ask, "What could I have done better?" That question opens the door to growth. Responsibility always leads you back to your own behavior, and that's where all improvement begins. Responsibility also means taking control of your thoughts. You can't always control what enters your mind, but you can control what stays there. You can choose what to dwell on. You can choose the narratives you believe. You can't build a strong life on weak thinking. Highly effective people monitor their mindset like a guard at the gate. They catch negative patterns. They challenge limiting beliefs. They don't let toxic thinking drive the car. They put truth in the driver's seat. Taking responsibility doesn't mean being hard on yourself. It doesn't mean self-shaming or guilt. It means self-leadership. It means you're willing to face your flaws without defending them. It means you're honest enough to see the mess but strong enough to clean it up. It's not about perfection. It's about ownership. When something goes wrong, the effective person doesn't say, "Who can I blame?" They say, "What can I learn?" This level of responsibility creates freedom. At first, it feels like a burden, carrying the weight of your results, your future, your life. But in time, you realize it's the only real freedom there is. Because when you take full responsibility, you're no longer waiting for someone else to change so you can feel better. You don't need perfect circumstances to be effective. You don't need permission. You become internally driven, not externally dependent. People who avoid responsibility usually live in cycles. They repeat the same problems in relationships, in finances, in health, in habits, because they keep pointing outward. They never pause to say, "Maybe I'm the common denominator." That level of honesty is rare, but the highly effective embrace it. They understand that you can't change what you won't own. They stop saying, "Life's not fair," and start asking, "What's the wise move from here?" Responsibility also shows up in how you handle time. The effective don't say, "I didn't have time." They say, "I didn't make it a priority." They don't say, "I was too busy." They say, "I chose other things." That language shift is powerful. It eliminates excuses and puts the control back in your hands. You may not have control over everything that happens today, but you have full control over how you show up, what you focus on, and what you give your energy to. When things fall apart, responsibility keeps you grounded. It doesn't let you spiral into blame, self-pity, or resentment. It says, "This is hard, but I still have choices." And those choices are everything. When others quit, the responsible persist. When others complain, the responsible create. When others wait, the responsible initiate. They don't wait for rescue. They rise to the challenge. Highly effective people also take responsibility for their emotions. They don't lash out and then justify it by saying, "Well, that's just how I felt." They understand that emotional discipline is part of personal leadership. They process their feelings, but they don't let those feelings make their decisions. They don't let temporary emotion ruin permanent opportunity. They slow down, think it through, and respond with purpose. This mindset creates trust. People respect those who take responsibility. They become dependable. They're the ones others can count on. In teams, in families, in business, they rise because people know they'll own it. Whether it's success or failure, they don't play the blame game. They don't deflect. They take the hit when it's theirs to take. That kind of character stands out. It inspires. It earns influence. Responsibility also fuels resilience. Life throws punches. Plans fail. People leave. Markets crash. But when you take ownership, you don't collapse. You adapt, you pivot, you bounce back. You don't get stuck in what asterisk should have asterisk happened. You move forward with what asterisk can still asterisk happen. That mindset makes you dangerous. In the best way, because you can't be stopped by circumstances. You become unstoppable because you never surrender your ability to respond. You also start to see how responsibility and identity are connected. The more responsibility you take, the more your identity grows. You start to see yourself as someone who can handle things, someone who follows through, someone who creates results. That belief system becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You act like a person who gets things done because you believe you are one. This principle also impacts leadership. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself, and you can't lead yourself without responsibility. Leaders go first. Leaders don't blame followers. They examine their own communication, their own example, their own expectations. The best leaders take the most responsibility. That's why they have the most impact. Taking responsibility is a daily decision. It's not a one-time choice. It shows up in small moments. The decision to get up when it's easier to stay down, to own a mistake instead of hiding it, to follow through on a promise when no one is watching. The highly effective are consistent in this mindset. They don't need applause to take responsibility. They do it because it's who they are. They build a reputation with themselves. Every time they own it, they grow. Every time they avoid it, they shrink. Over time, that shapes their identity, and identity is destiny. You don't become effective by accident. You become effective by decision. By looking life in the face and saying, no matter what happens, I will take full ownership of my part. Discipline over emotion is a core philosophy that drives the lives of highly effective people. It's not that they don't feel emotions, or that they don't have days when they're tired, frustrated, overwhelmed, or discouraged. Of course they do. The difference is they don't let those emotions take the wheel. They don't let feelings make their decisions. They allow discipline to lead and emotions to follow. That distinction is subtle but powerful. It's what separates those who live by principles from those who live by moods. In a world that constantly encourages people to follow their feelings, highly effective individuals do something different. They pause, they choose, they remember their commitments. They know that emotions are temporary, but consequences are not. They understand that feelings are fleeting visitors, but discipline is the structure that holds everything together. They don't act based on how they feel in the moment. They act based on who they want to become. Discipline is the muscle that allows them to stay on track when the motivation fades. Because motivation is a spark, but discipline is the firewood. It's what keeps the flame alive when inspiration goes cold. People who chase motivation ride an emotional roller coaster. They work when they're excited. They quit when they're discouraged. But those who lean on discipline show up no matter what. They work through boredom. They act despite doubt. They keep their word even when the mood has left the room. Emotion-driven people often find themselves trapped in cycles. They start with energy, then stumble when adversity hits. They plan with excitement, then stall when reality sets in. They ride highs and crash into lows, and nothing ever gets finished. Discipline, driven people move with consistency. They don't need to be pumped up every morning. They don't need perfect weather or perfect moods. They've trained themselves to do the work regardless of how they feel. This doesn't mean they suppress or ignore their emotions. It means they don't obey them blindly. They acknowledge what they feel, but they don't submit to it. They observe their emotional state and then ask, what's the right thing to do right now? And not, what do I feel like doing? That question changes everything. It transforms impulses into wisdom. It replaces instant gratification with long-term reward. It shifts the focus from the now to the next. Highly effective people have trained their discipline like a warrior trains for battle. It's a daily practice. It's built through repetition. It's formed in the quiet decisions when nobody's watching. When the alarm goes off early in the morning, emotion says, hit snooze. Discipline says, get up. When it's time to have a difficult conversation, emotion says, avoid it. Discipline says, face it. When the temptation to quit appears, emotion says, give up. Discipline says, push forward. Every time discipline wins over emotion, a small victory is claimed, and those small victories compound into transformation. The effective know that the difference between winners and quitters isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not resources. It's the willingness to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. It's being stronger than your moods. It's the power to delay gratification, to push past resistance, and to keep your eyes fixed on the outcome, not the obstacle. This mindset changes how they approach goals. They don't wait until they feel ready. They don't require perfect alignment of energy and mood. They decide, then they act, then they stay with it. And when emotion tries to pull them away, when fear whispers, when laziness tempts, when doubt creeps in, they return to the discipline. They lean on structure, they remember their commitments, they remind themselves why they started. Emotions can be powerful allies, but they make poor leaders. They're reactive, they're inconsistent, they shift with the weather. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It creates a solid foundation for progress. When a person operates from discipline, they don't get derailed by temporary discomfort. They know that the pain of discipline is far lighter than the pain of regret. They choose discomfort now to avoid disappointment later. The effective also recognize the emotional traps that sabotage discipline. The need for comfort, the craving for validation, the fear of failure, the addiction to excitement, all of these can seduce a person into abandoning the hard path. But the disciplined mind sees through the illusion. It remembers that comfort is a trap, that validation is fleeting, that failure is not fatal, and that excitement doesn't equal effectiveness. It chooses the higher path, not the easier one. Discipline brings stability to chaotic situations. When the world feels uncertain, the disciplined person still moves forward. They don't freeze in panic or spiral in doubt. They fall back on their routines. They return to their systems. They don't let the external chaos infect their internal order. They focus on what they can control, their choices, their effort, their attitude, and they keep going. Emotion often seeks to protect. It wants to avoid pain, discomfort, risk, but discipline seeks growth. It willingly steps into pain if it leads to progress. It embraces discomfort if it produces character. It takes on risk if it brings reward. The highly effective have made peace with discomfort. They don't expect ease. They've learned to do hard things because the life they want is on the other side of difficulty. This also changes their relationship with habits. They don't rely on inspiration to build habits. They rely on structure. They create routines that operate regardless of how they feel. They understand that habits don't care about moods. The key is to show up again and again until the behavior becomes automatic. Once discipline shapes the habit takes over, and the need for constant willpower decreases. Highly effective people have also learned to separate who they are from what they feel. Just because they feel lazy doesn't mean they are lazy. Just because they feel unmotivated doesn't mean they are unmotivated. They know that feelings come and go, but identity stays, and their identity is shaped by their choices, not their moods. They act like the person they want to be, not the person they feel like being in the moment. Discipline is what allows them to do the right thing on the wrong day. It's the inner voice that says, I made a promise to myself and I intend to keep it. It's the self-respect to honor commitments even when nobody would blame them for quitting. It's the pride in knowing that they can trust themselves to follow through. The more they exercise discipline over emotion, the more self-respect they build. That respect is earned, not given. It's the reward of following through. It's the confidence that comes from keeping your word. It's the strength that grows every time you resist the easy way and choose the better way. Discipline becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. This commitment to discipline doesn't make life dull. It makes it powerful, because when you master your emotions, you're no longer at the mercy of your environment. You become unshakable. You're not ruled by cravings or moods or distractions. You are guided by your principles, your values, and your vision. You do what needs to be done, not just what you feel like doing in the moment. You become the kind of person who creates consistent results, regardless of circumstance. Consistency beats motivation because motivation is fleeting while consistency is foundational. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes, depending on how you feel, what you've eaten, how people are treating you, or even what kind of weather you're experiencing. It's unreliable, unpredictable, and completely unstable. The people who rely on motivation are usually the ones who start strong and fade fast. They launch into something new with fire and excitement, but the moment that excitement fades, so does their action. And that's why highly effective people don't build their lives around how motivated they are. They build it around consistency. They understand that doing the right thing repeatedly, whether they feel like it or not, is what drives results. Consistency is not loud, it doesn't demand attention, it's not flashy or exciting, it's quiet, it's repetitive, it's boring to most people, and that's exactly why it works. The average person wants something new all the time. New routines, new hacks, new strategies. But the highly effective understand that it's not about doing something extraordinary once in a while. It's about doing something simple and valuable every single day. It's about showing up again and again until it becomes part of who you are. Motivation is like a match. It lights up quickly but burns out just as fast. Consistency is like a furnace. It takes time to build, but once it's burning, it sustains itself. The disciplined, consistent person doesn't need to be constantly inspired. They've created a rhythm, a flow, a habit. They know that once the system is in motion, momentum takes over. They no longer have to negotiate with themselves each day. The decision has already been made, they just follow through. One of the biggest traps people fall into is waiting to feel right before taking action. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect energy, the perfect mood. But those who live by consistency take action first. They know that feelings often follow behavior. You start doing and the motivation catches up. You don't wait to feel like it. You train yourself to show up regardless. That shift in mindset changes everything. It gives you control over your time, your progress, your direction. Highly effective people build habits, and habits are the product of consistency. It's not enough to work hard occasionally. It's about doing the right work regularly. One workout won't change your body. One book won't change your mind. One day of focus won't change your future. But when those things stack up day after day, week after week, month after month, the compound effect takes over. That's the hidden power of consistency. It multiplies results over time. Consistency also creates reliability. Others start to trust you not because of what you say, but because of what you keep doing. You become dependable, your work ethic speaks for you, your habits build your reputation. People know what to expect from you because you've proven that you're not here for a burst, you're here for the long haul. That's leadership, that's integrity, that's effectiveness in its purest form. The consistent person isn't always the most talented, but they outlast the talented person who only works when they feel like it. Talent is an advantage, but without consistency, it remains undeveloped. Effort, applied day after day, transforms potential into power, and that power is built one block at a time. The world is filled with talented people who never followed through. The marketplace rewards not just brilliance, but persistence. The ones who succeed are not always the smartest, but they're often the most consistent. When you're consistent, you build momentum. Momentum makes things easier. In the beginning, everything takes effort. You have to think, push, fight through resistance. But the more consistent you are, the more you enter a state of flow. What once felt difficult becomes second nature. What once took discipline now feels automatic. The friction disappears. You start moving forward faster, not because you're working harder, but because your habits are carrying you. Consistency also simplifies your decisions. When you commit to something daily, you remove the option of negotiation. There's no debate, no argument with yourself, no internal back, and fourth, it's already decided. That clarity frees up energy and willpower for other things. You stop wasting time deciding whether or not to act, and instead, you just act. That decisiveness makes you efficient and sharp. It eliminates hesitation and builds confidence. Highly effective people don't measure their success by how they feel today. They measure it by how they perform over time. They don't obsess over instant feedback or overnight results. They're playing a longer game. They understand that mastery is earned through repetition, that excellence is built through daily execution. They respect the process even when it's slow. They trust the grind even when the results are invisible. They keep going because they know that consistency guarantees growth. There are days when nothing seems to work, days when the progress is invisible, days when motivation disappears entirely. On those days, consistency is the anchor. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you moving, it reminds you that showing up matters more than showing off. That success is often the result of doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. That if you just don't quit, you're already ahead of most people. The consistent person also becomes more disciplined. Every day you follow through, you reinforce your identity. You become the kind of person who does what they say they will do. That identity becomes a foundation. It influences your beliefs, your choices, your standards. It pushes you to keep going, not because you have to, but because it's who you are now. You're no longer chasing motivation. You're operating from conviction. This mindset also helps you in every area of life. In relationships, consistency builds trust. In business, it builds credibility. In personal growth, it builds momentum. Everywhere you look, the people who are succeeding are the ones who have found a way to be consistent. Not perfect, not brilliant every day, just present, just committed, just steady. Consistency protects your goals from being destroyed by your emotions. It gives you something solid to stand on when everything else feels uncertain. You don't have to feel amazing to keep going. You just have to show up and do what needs to be done, and over time, that behavior shapes your future more than any single burst of energy ever could. The truth is, results don't come from occasional intensity. They come from sustained effort. They come from small, disciplined actions repeated over time. The world doesn't reward the one who started loud. It rewards the one who stayed consistent, the one who kept going when it got quiet, the one who didn't quit when nobody noticed, the one who believed in the power of small wins stacked over time. That's the mindset of the highly effective. They don't hope their way into success. They build their way there one consistent step at a time. Success must include contribution, because without contribution, success becomes hollow. It becomes a game of accumulation rather than fulfillment. You can gather all the wealth, titles, and recognition in the world, but if it doesn't reach beyond your own needs and wants, it eventually loses its meaning. True success isn't about taking all you can carry. It's about giving all you can offer. The most effective people understand that their growth is not an end in itself, but a means to empower others. They live with the belief that life is not just about what you get, but about what you give. Contribution transforms success from personal victory into lasting impact. It makes your journey worthwhile not only to you, but to those around you. The highly effective don't just aim to climb the ladder. They turn around and extend a hand. They don't just collect information. They teach. They don't just earn. They share, and in doing so, they find a deeper level of satisfaction that goes far beyond achievement. The applause of others may fade, but the lives you touch echo far longer. Contribution requires awareness. You have to lift your eyes from your own path and notice who's walking beside you, who's struggling behind you, and who's looking to you for direction. It demands that you see the world not just as a place to conquer, but as a place to serve. The people who understand this life differently, they ask different questions. Not just what's in it for me, but who needs what I have? Where can I make a difference? How can I leave something behind that lasts? Highly effective people are not only productive, they are generous. They understand that knowledge increases when shared, that energy multiplies when given, and that the more you contribute, the more meaningful your life becomes. They build businesses that solve real problems. They use their voices to inspire. They mentor without needing credit. They understand that every bit of growth they experience can be used as a stepping stone for someone else. There's a kind of quiet power in contributing. It doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as encouraging someone who's about to quit. Sometimes it's teaching someone a skill that once changed your life. Sometimes it's creating something that outlives you. That's the kind of success that matters. Not just what you did for yourself, but what you made possible for others. Contribution also keeps you grounded. It pulls you out of selfish ambition and reminds you of your responsibility. The higher you rise, the more people you can lift, but only if you choose to. The more you learn, the more you can teach. The more you earn, the more you can give, and the more influence you gain, the more careful you must be about how you use it. The effective person doesn't use success as a shield or a throne. They use it as a platform to build something beyond themselves. There's no shortage of people chasing success, but there is a shortage of people who are willing to turn success into service. Contribution requires humility. It means realizing that no matter how far you've come, someone else helped you along the way. A teacher, a book, a moment of grace, a friend who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Highly effective people never forget that. They carry it with them and they pay it forward. Contribution also brings clarity. When you know your life is meant to serve a purpose beyond yourself, your decisions change. You stop chasing distractions. You stop wasting time. You choose your battles wisely. You build with intention. You invest in people. You plant seeds even when you might not see the harvest. You understand that legacy isn't built in a day, but it is built daily, through the lives you touch, the values you uphold, the good you leave behind. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is moving from success to significance. Success is about achievement. Significance is about impact. You can be successful and forgotten, but you cannot be significant and ignored. Significance requires contribution. It asks you to use your success to elevate, to empower, to inspire. It calls you to something greater than comfort and applause. It calls you to responsibility, and contribution doesn't always mean giving money or building monuments. Sometimes it means giving your attention. Sometimes it means listening deeply. Sometimes it means being consistent in your values so others know what strength looks like. The smallest acts, when done with purpose, can echo in someone else's life for years. That's what effective people understand. They're not chasing legacy through grandiosity. They're creating it through intentional contribution, one moment at a time. You don't have to be a billionaire to contribute. You don't have to be a celebrity or an expert. You simply need to be available, to pay attention, to care, to speak when someone needs encouragement, to give when someone lacks support, to teach when someone seeks understanding. Contribution is not reserved for the elite. It's the calling of every person who's been given something of value, whether that's experience, wisdom, time, or love. And contribution doesn't subtract from your success. It multiplies it. It gives your effort meaning. It gives your wins context. When you use your success to build others up, you don't lose. You grow. You become someone others remember not just for what you did, but for how you made them feel, how you helped them change, how you showed them what was possible. Highly effective people understand that leadership is not control, it's influence, and the most powerful kind of influence is through example. When you give with consistency, when you serve without shouting about it, when you live with purpose beyond your own gain, others notice. Not because you demand it, but because contribution leaves a mark. It's the one kind of success that cannot be taken from you. It lives in others. It grows long after you're gone. In a world obsessed with appearance, contribution is substance. In a world chasing noise, contribution is signal. It's the quiet work of lifting others, the humble act of doing good without asking for praise. It's the decision to turn your success into service, your pain into purpose, your wins into wisdom for someone else. And the greatest truth is this: everything you give returns to you in ways you can't always measure. The joy of helping someone rise, the fulfillment of knowing your life mattered, the strength you gain by choosing generosity over ego. Contribution isn't just a moral idea, it's a strategy for meaningful success. It's the key that unlocks a deeper sense of accomplishment, because no matter how high you climb, the view is always better when you've brought others with you.